Let me
Okay.
just, let's just do a little housekeeping notes here. Just make sure everyone is muted, cameras are off, because this will be shared in YouTube in just a few weeks, okay? And any questions you guys have for Lori or me, just drop it in the chat box, and we'll make sure to answer those. And just a simple reminder, just to be kind and respectful, okay? We have 0 tolerance, so just make sure everyone is treating everyone kindly. And I think with that, we are here with Lori from Josie and Nina. She'll be teaching us about web stories. And for anyone who don't know me, I am Jocelyn. I'm the new operations and events manager at Tastemaker Conference. So it's exciting. I love what I do, and I'm so happy you're all here. And I think we are ready. I am admitting more people, Lori, but
Okay,
I think you are all good.
All right,
Yes.
awesome.
So, okay,
Well,
we'll have Lori tell us about herself. I'm sorry. Okay.
Oh, no, you're
go ahead.
good. You're good. Before we switch over to the presentation, as Jocelyn said, I am Lori Murphy, and I'm the founder of Josie and Nina. And it is a food blog where I share modern, approachable Italian recipes for cooks who love to gather lots of people around a table of really good food, but they really don't want to spend a lot of time doing that. So that has been my focus since 2019, early 2019. In my former life, I was a marketing professional in the pharmaceutical industry. And before I took time to raise 3 kids who are now all big cooks themselves, you'll see I talk with my hands a lot. I'm Italian. And I am also a former culinary specialist with Williams-Sonoma and an instructor with them. And then I went back into consulting and marketing in the food ingredient industry. So I kind of took my love for marketing and food and put it all together. I always wanted to do a food blog, and it, you know, best intentions, things got a little bit delayed, but here I am. And I stumbled into Tastemaker, met Abby and Candace back when I first started in 2019, and was in their very first in-person workshop in Washington, D.C. back in 2019. And then my blog really started taking off after I came across the power of web stories, and was at a retreat with Abby where we all were sharing what we knew, and web stories was kind of the thing I knew. And she asked me to share it all with you. So we did that. Last June, we had a workshop, and it was really fun. We had about 30 participants who were able to take what they knew, and I've had some feedback from them, and it's just really fun seeing the power of web stories and what can happen. So with that being said, I am going to get started. Jocelyn, do you want to make me the, oh wait, I have a question first before we do that, sorry. If everybody in the chat, you've shared your locations, which is awesome. If you would also share your familiarity with web stories on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being, I don't even know what they are, with 5 being, Lori, move out of the way, I'm going to teach the course. And then also what you're hoping to get out of today, which is just going to be a little taste of what's to come for the workshop, and what you'd like for yourself from web stories. All right, we're getting some 2s, 3s. Just loaded the plugin yesterday. How to get more views. Well, that I can't guarantee. The how to get more views is a tricky one, and would love to believe it actually helps. I love that. The get more views is, you know, it's Google. So just as you write a post, a web story is very similar to a post, and we're crafting it almost exactly the same way. With using keywords and with the idea that hopefully it will get picked up. Hi, Sydney from Chicago. I'm in Chicago too. All right, so do you want to get started, Jocelyn? And I'll share my screen with everybody. Okay, hold on one sec. I have to move a few things around here. So Jocelyn, will you take over the chat then? Are you good with that, of reading the chat? Okay, thank you. Okay. All right, so hopefully, can everybody see the web stories? Not if, Jocelyn, can we see it okay? Okay, perfect. All right. So I call this the workshop Web Stories, the story platform made for SEO, because it really is like you're taking your posts and turning them into little snippets or snacks and for people to consume pretty quickly. Oops, I got a little ahead of myself there. Sorry about that. Hold on a second, I'm losing my... So I just wanted to share a little shout out from one of our attendees last year. And this is some feedback from Sarah, who participated in last year's workshop. And I was really excited. She reached out to me. We had the workshop in June. She reached out to me in September and was so excited to share her page views and how they had grown. And she attributed the growth to Web Stories. And now, like we just talked about, I can't guarantee you'll have the exact same experience as Sarah. I can tell you that, and here is what Sarah has said. So that the class had been changing for her business. After 1 month of using her methods, she was able to have her highest page views ever. And that coincidentally, Sarah also rebranded and changed her whole URL. So her whole site became completely something different. And she really didn't have any slowdown. And I checked in with her last night. And she said, nope, I'm still on the right track to share. Goal is to qualify for media buying. Sorry, I didn't share who that was. It's Sarah Lynn from SundayTable.co. Go give her a follow. She's awesome. But so as Jocelyn and the Tastemaker team knows, I'm kind of a web story crazy person in that I love all the possibilities that surround them and became mildly obsessed with them myself around the tail end of Q3. 2021, not this past Q3, because Web Stories had just started in January of 21. And I probably hit it, admittedly, at a great sweet spot. Hold on, I have to admit someone into the room. Hit it at a sweet spot where it ended up being right before Q4 and Web Stories were really hot. And there weren't as many people doing Web Stories either. Now I think Casey Marquis recently shared that there are over 6 million people doing Web Stories, I believe. And I don't even know how many Web Stories there are. But hold on, I have to, people keep asking to be let in, Jocelyn. So hold on one second. I'm trying to let them all in. Okay. Sorry, I got ahead of myself there. So anyway, we are going to be diving into all things Web Stories. And this is going to be very casual. Ask questions in the chat. You know, we'll have Q&A at the end. I'll go through my brief presentation and then it'll be a back and forth discussion. Okay, so let me move out here. So we talked about, and I kind of want to look at everybody else's experience level. It was mostly a lot of 2s and 3s, some 4s. So we're kind of all over the place with our, in a good way, with our experience level. So what are Web Stories? Web Stories, and I'm going to ask everybody, Web Stories are like a virtual little snack. I mentioned that. So if you picture, it's a little bite, but I'm going to tell you what they aren't either. So they are literally a page on your site fed to Google Discover to match user interest. So if everyone would take out their phones real quick, and if you happen to have, and if you don't, you can just look at mine here. And I'm going to, oh shoot, I have it's not going to show because I'm blurred. Hold on. Do you have, if everyone has the Google app on their phone while I'm trying to fix my little, I'm going to unblur my background. Okay, here we go. So this is the Google app, not the Google Chrome app. It's just the Google app. And if you go into the Google app and you'll see it's obviously fed by your interests and you start to scroll up, and I mentioned pop culture. So you'll see some pop culture-y things and news related things here, but keep scrolling until you find the word stories. Here they are. I don't know, do you see them right there? These are Google Web Stories, and how they are picked to be there is anybody's guess. Google decides based on what I'm interested in, what you're interested in, to put in based on what you search, whatever they choose. So if we click in one of these, this is what a web story is, and it takes the reader all the way through a post, and hopefully then directs the reader to the post, because that's what we're here for, right? We all would like some traffic. So like I said, they're literally a page on your site fed to Google Discover to match the user interests. But here is what web stories, here's how, how web stories, why is it not? Oh, shoot. Sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry. I got to go back. Uh-oh, hold on. Previous. Sorry. I'm trying to manage two different, okay. So Google defines web stories as a visually rich, full screen content format for the web, which allows you to tap or swipe like we just did through the stories, and to consume the content you tap through. But Google also says web stories are not a teaser. And I can tell you that from a personal anecdote. So my very first, as you'll see, that's the cover of it. My very first web story that I did in January of 2021 was me thinking, great, I'm going to wow them with my photography and my witty repartee, and they're going to click, of course. I think I had 4 pages on the web story. What is a beef tenderloin? Why it's great to serve beef tenderloin at your tailgate. Serve it for the Super Bowl. Click for more. I literally had 5 cards and 5 views on it. And it was right before the Super Bowl. It's one of my most popular posts. And I thought it was going to skyrocket and take off. And it was obviously a big failure. It did not succeed. So Google wants us to take the reader through our post. They want to tell a story from beginning to end. They want you to be creative. They want you to not just tease them. Yes, whet their appetite, give them a little bite. You're not going to give them, the whole pie, but you're going to give them a piece of the pie, if that makes sense. Okay, so I just wanted to share quickly my top 3 favorite things about web stories. We all know that updating blog posts is a project, right? And I don't know about you, but it's something that after you have so many posts, you get a little like, oh my gosh, I have to go back in and update those posts. And there are so many rules around updating. Don't touch a post if it's ranking in the top 3. Don't change a post too many times. It goes on and on and on. But with web stories, Google says it's okay to change them, update them, make a spelling error, go in and change it. Want to switch up the cover and adjust for a holiday? You can do that. That's what I love about them. It's quick content and it's meant to inspire. So have fun with it. You can make more than 1 per post. This past October, took a look at my web stories, and on the dashboard, I looked and realized I had over 225 web stories. I only have 135 posts. You can make more than 1 per post. It's totally fine because you're going to have different URLs for each of them, and they are technically like a page on your site. And the last thing I love is you can grow your traffic from them. Now, I say pretty quickly, but it's not an overnight thing. And it is just like I'm going to tell you some little kind of caveats to it. I have worked with big bloggers on them and have done web stories for them. And I have helped bloggers of my size. And I am not a big blogger. I am on an ad network, on Mediavine. Web stories did help me get on the ad network, but you also have to have really robust, helpful content that is going to show growth and a staying power. So an overnight success, web stories are not, just like anything. They are work. Okay, so where do we find web stories? I showed you on Google, and we just went through where they were on the discovery. And that's exactly what I showed you before, but they also appear in other places. So this is how it looks if you are on like on a Pixel phone, not an iOS phone. On Chrome, they look that way. And then they also appear, this is actually my post, and these are from my web story, and these appeared in Google Images, which I think is very interesting. And if someone clicks on those, it takes right to my post, which is awesome. There is, supposedly Google was going to have a little white deck of cards in the corner on images whenever these, and you can't see it here because it's not appearing on mine. And I don't know if everyone knows this, but we all don't see the same thing on Google all the time. But supposedly Google was going to have web stories marked with a little white deck of cards in the corner of those images on stories, which should show that the source is a web story. Okay, so what can you expect from web stories? I mentioned that my web stories journey led me to qualifying for an ad network. Did I hit a magic moment? Possibly, because to be honest, my traffic from web stories this past year was a lot less impactful than in 2021. But I also have heard that it was that way for a lot of people as well. And I think it's because there are so many people now doing web stories and so many web stories out there. So we're going to learn how to make ours stand out a little bit and how to market them. And that's one of the things we'll talk about in the workshop. I do believe, though, that they are an amazing way for bloggers looking to generate traffic to accomplish their goals. Now, if you have 3 million page views a month, your impact is probably going to be on the smaller side, and I'm saying that with experience with the bigger bloggers that I've worked with, than someone who is trying to qualify for an ad network, because Google web stories help you get seen more. And my organic traffic, and I'll share this in the workshop, my organic traffic skyrocketed just through the web stories. And it has continued to do so. And I continue to get traffic from web stories, even when I don't continue to make them over and over and over again. Okay, so what can you expect from web stories? I love the Gilmore Girls, and it's like anything, you could wind up getting absolutely nothing. However, you might wake up one morning and all of a sudden, literally, there are 50 paid people on your site all at one time, which for me, when I saw that, was a huge goal, and I'd never seen that before. But then as you see in the next slide, you wake up the next day, it spikes, and then it also can fall off as quickly, and you just keep doing them and doing more of them. Okay, so I call these kind of building blocks. Probably isn't even the correct word, because you're going to hear this all the time, whether you're a new blogger or a blogger that's been around forever. The name of the game in food blogging with anything is consistency. Whether you're trying to grow your Pinterest traffic, whether you're trying to improve your SEO, whether you're trying to be on Instagram and become an influencer, I don't care what it is, it's consistency. But at the end of the day, it's consistency for you. So what is consistent for me, if I do a web story every day, you may be only able to do 3 a week, but if you do 3 a week and are consistent over time, you will be rewarded. How many, how often? We're going to talk about that. And I just mentioned it's consistent based on you versus me, your time allowance, the number of posts you have on your site. After a while, you can only make so many web stories. If you have 10 or 15 posts on your site, you really need to spend some time creating some content that then you can continue to make more stories for. Relevant content. So think about, and we're going to talk about this a lot in the workshop, how seasonal, timely, what's trending, what holidays are happening, all of those things. And we are going to learn how to position our stories to fulfill all of those different targets and audiences. And then the last thing that I think is really important, no matter what you're trying to do, it's kind of the basic of marketing, is you really have to always come at everything from an audience first mindset. It can't be, well, Lori, I want to get 50,000 page views to qualify for Mediavine. Yeah, we do. But it's how can I serve my audience to get 50,000 page views from Mediavine? And Google wants us to teach them. They've sent us that signal over and over and over again by rewarding sites that show process shots, by rewarding sites that have relevant, helpful content, like with their recent helpful content update. And they're going to continue to do the same thing with web stories, because that is their overall arching goal, is to serve up the best result for the reader in the search. And if your story is it, if your post is it, that's what you want. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about story strategy. And this is just a little sample of what you'll find in the workshop. It's kind of the fun part for me. It's the chicken or the egg scenario. What came first, the post or the idea for the web story? So let's think about this. It's Christmas and you need a story, web story centered around the holidays, Christmas cookies, turkeys, beef tenderloin, side dishes. So you go into your site and you dig up every post that works with Christmas content, right? And then you create stories around that. So that's one thing you can do. Seasonal, which is what we just talked about. The next direction is it's September and you have a brand new chicken fajita post and you need to create a story. It's not May, when it might be more appropriate with Cinco de Mayo, but it's back to school season. So you instead decide to craft your web story around easy back to school dinners for a busy work week. So do you see the differences there? We're kind of going to talk about, and that we're going to get into this more in the workshop, about how to do all of those three things. Oh, wait. Oh, sorry. I missed one more. Let me go back to the previous slide. Hold on. Sorry. And then the last one is crafting a story around a viral trend. We all, witnessed, gosh, there's so many trends. The green goddess salad, right? Recipe, or the baked feta pasta. So if you happen to have one of those on your site and you're able to take advantage of it, go ahead and do that and make a web story around that. Okay, so trends. We spend a lot of time looking at trends, and we're really going to dig in the workshop about how to find what is trending so that you can then put up a post that's relevant for what people are looking for. For some reason, I'm clicking. Oh, there we go. Sorry, it took a minute. So we're around what is trending. We're going to draft this story around the trend and direct it to the post. Okay, sorry, I was behind there a little bit. Okay, so here are some of the ways. We're lagging here a second. I don't know what's going on, that we will be looking at trends. We'll be looking at Google Trends. We'll be looking at Pinterest trends. In your own Google Analytics, how to discover what's there. Food Blogger Pro, if you're on their mailing list, they do a great email that they send out I believe it's every quarter, where they share what is coming for the next quarter. So that gives you a great idea. They've done the work for you. So let them use them for that information. TikTok certainly tells us what kind of trends there are. And then Google for Creators. If you're not a member of Google for Creators, sign up for it. And there's a whole connection of things that they will send you in emails. And then back in my food ingredient days, every year, and they always happen in October, November, it's always in Q4, there are industry publications. Baum & Whiteman is a big one. Obviously Whole Foods, Walmart, they all put out trend predictions for the coming year. And that is a great place to find out what manufacturers are going to be producing and what flavors, what recipes, and they're all based on, a lot of it comes from the restaurant industry, and you can join those and follow those inspirations as well, because one drives the other, and they all share what they predict. So back when cauliflower was a big thing, cauliflower, kale, all of those are predicted by all of these publications. So they are super helpful to follow. Okay, so real quick, I'm going to share, and we're almost coming to the end here. This is a best practice for web stories, and this is just a little taste. So if you're in the process of making web stories, and like I talked about, you only do, a little teaser, currently, the sweet spot I have found, I mean, you will find your own sweet spot, but Google has even said 10 to 15 cards is a sweet spot. And you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, how can I do a story that's 10 to 15 cards long? You can, because I'm going to share with you all the different page ideas that that kind of involve around marketing your post and positioning it, in addition to your process shots, and then also at the end, how to sell them on you. So we will be going into all of that. Choosing fonts that are easy to read. And also you can control in the plugin how fast you want each card to progress. So if you want them to go slower or faster, there really has been a trend lately for these, and you'll probably have noticed it on Instagram yourself and on TikTok, for these 3-second videos. And the beautiful thing about web stories is they tap and can take themselves through them as fast as they want, or you can set a scroll speed for them. And I think 7 seconds is the default setting. Choosing fonts that are easy to read. We want clear text that Google will say, actually, that isn't smaller than 13 pixels. I'm here to tell you 24 pixels is a good number to aim for. 13 is really small, especially as you get older. So, and I can say that because I am. Okay. And I just said well-spaced text that isn't, okay. And we also are going to go into built into the Web Story plugin, which if anybody has used the Web Story plugin, it is, again, Google, we love you, but it is not the easiest plugin to work with. It can be really glitchy. It can be really frustrating sometimes to work with, to the point of where I know some bloggers are like, I just don't even want to deal with it. And you really have to take your time when updates come out and to make sure that you don't update. But we do have some more advice on the number of words per page and image sizes and all of that. And we'll show you everything in the plugin, how to check yourself, because they built in all these awesome little checklists for you to use. And then we're also going to talk a lot about images and what to do with them, how to make them eye-catching, how to make a reader want to click on them and want more, because at the end of the day, we're trying to sell your amazing content. Okay, so the objectives for the workshop, and I said webinar, but this is for the workshop in February. We will be learning the strategy and tactics around web stories, some of which we've heard here, but this was just a snippet. We're going to identify the relevant trends applicable to your brand. We're going to figure out and learn how to position your recipe and make you think of positioning your recipe in ways that encourage click-throughs and inspire loyal fans. I will tell you, one of the most surprising things for me with web stories was my email list doubled once I started doing web stories. And I'm going to talk about that too, which that was amazing. And I haven't called my list, I've kept the majority of those people. So that's been really fun to see. So the story really for you starts here. And that is what we kind of went through. These are all the things that you're going to learn. What are they? Where to find them? The elements of the great story. We're literally going to dig into stories that exist. We're going to go page by page, the different pages to position your stories, the rule of thumb that I just talked about, the trends and how to find the trends for your stories and how your particular content fits the current trend, how we're going to design them so that they're eye-catching, and then if you want, even how to track them in your analytics. So this is everything that we're going to discuss on February 10th, and we hope you'll join us. So that's kind of my whole presentation for this part of it. And then we can go into the Q&A, Jocelyn. Does that sound good?
Yes, that sounds great. Yeah, we have quite a bit of questions here. So
Awesome. Okay,
we'll just
awesome.
go ahead. But thank you, Lori. That is so great. I can't wait to attend that workshop. It's going to be
Good.
so
I'm
awesome.
glad. Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right. So I'll
I wish
go
I
over
could
the
tell
questions.
everybody
Yeah,
everything. I want to
I
keep going
know,
and going, going. So,
right? That's going to be
yes, definitely.
amazing. Okay. So we have from Jessica here. She said, really basic questions, but do web stories only show up on mobile?
That's a very good question, Jessica. And the answer is, for me, yes. For other people, they're seeing them in their Google desktop as well in Chrome. I've not had that experience yet, but in our last workshop, I mean, I know Google wants them there. They are starting to show Google Short or YouTube Shorts, since Google and YouTube are together. I don't know if you've noticed in desktop, but the stories for me on my Chrome have not picked up yet. If anybody else has a different experience, please pop in and tell us, because other people have seen them. I have not yet.
Okay. All right. Emma says, I'm in Canada and don't see web stories yet. Any insight when it will roll out here?
Yeah, I don't. I know they're in Brazil and the US and India, I believe. And I have not heard when they're coming to Canada yet. They don't tell me that.
Yeah. Okay. And Jen wants to know that do you already need to be on Google for creators to see them?
Oh, no, not at all.
Okay.
No. And hopefully the other thing that I probably didn't explain clearly, and that you'll get before the workshop if you join us, is we will be sending out a whole how to set up, if you haven't already, because I know we have different expertise levels with web stories. If you are brand new and have never done a web story, we will be sharing with you how to set up your Google Analytics to track your stories, because they have to be tracked on a different profile view, how to add the plugin, kind of all of those things. That way on the day, you'll be ready to go.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. Mara wants to know, if you do update a post, should you update a web story or make a new one?
You can do both. You can do either. So what I've been doing lately, because I think I mentioned I have so many web stories, in the places where I have some posts that have like 4, because they're that big of a post for me, or I have that many different things I want to talk about relative to that post. Those I am going back in and just updating them, and I'll show you how to do that. But I don't change the URL for them. Any other time you can duplicate them as if it's a brand new. So you can take a story, duplicate it, and then turn it into a whole new post. Change the URL, change the title, change the description, and then that becomes a whole new web story. We also will learn how to make them so that you'll be able to make them in like 15 minutes or less, because we're going to use templates and lots of ways, so that you'll have like that way it'll always look the same. Your web story will have your branding all set. And when you leave the workshop, we'll have time. So in the morning, we'll spend, I think last time we spent about 2 hours going through everything with a built-in break. And then in the afternoon, we had workshop time, and we broke into small groups, made web stories, and then I popped into each group, and then we had someone come up and make a web story in front of everybody. I made one in front of them. So it was really interactive that way. And I apologize, my dog is freaking out behind me, so I'm sorry if you hear that noise
that's
in the
okay.
background.
We don't hear it.
Okay, good.
All right. Okay.
So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah. Okay. Let us know if there's any follow-up to that one. And Paul wants to know, I know we talked about consistency is key, just like with anything, like when we create content. So he's asking, can I schedule them out and then be still considered consistent?
Yes, absolutely. Pinterest gives you the opportunity to schedule them. I have not found any difference between scheduling them or between publishing them immediately. I've had no difference with it. Yeah. Give me 1 second. Go ahead and ask the question, Jocelyn. I'm going to mute myself.
Okay. All right. Letitia wants to know, she's not understanding quite well, where to post them. So is it on a Google app? So is Google app on a mobile only?
Meaning not understanding where to post the web story.
Yes.
It is okay. It is kind of a weird thing. So web stories, it's like they just go out into the universe. And once you start making them, believe it or not, you have a page on your site if you've been making them. And I can show you. Give me 1 second and can you see my tab there? Do you see Google there when I did that?
Yes.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Yes.
Do you see it? Okay. Okay.
I do.
Okay. So let me show you real quick. Let me widen this out here. Okay. So here are, oh wait, that's my coaching. Let me go to the bottom. Here is my web stories page. Everybody, once you have web stories, you have a page built into your site that is your url.com/ or your brand name.com/ web stories. You may not even know you have it, but it's there. And these are all, the web stories that I've made. And they all appear on one page. Now yours might look like different from this because I've had mine styled. But no one ever goes to this page. It's just there that if it's there, that way you can see where, once they've been published, where they are. And so when they're put out into the universe, I then also, we have some ways we make sure that they're eligible for Google. So you check them in AMP and make sure that they are ready to be shown, and then Google will take them and run with them. Not every web story that you throw out there is going to have traffic. You'll have some that'll just take off and you'll wake up and, like I said earlier, you'll be like, oh my gosh. And you'll have others that will do nothing. And then you'll have others that will do nothing, and then out of the blue will all of a sudden just start taking off. So it's at Google's whim. And but it's kind of, once it starts happening, it's really kind of fun. So,
okay. And it is a plugin, right? That
yes,
you use.
it is a plugin. Google has a WordPress plugin, but there are other, there's one called Makin, I believe. If you're not on WordPress, there are other ways to make web stories through other apps. I think there's two other apps, but the one we are going to be talking about is WordPress. We will not be getting into. So you have to have, for the workshop, you have to have the Google WordPress plugin.
Okay. All right. Next one, Molly wants to know, when you are targeting a holiday, do you put the name of the holiday in the title, or is the
100%.
name of the recipe always the title?
No, the name of the recipe is not always the title.
Okay.
I will sometimes make a title. For example, the Super Bowl is coming up. I might, do the best game day appetizer. That kind of a thing. So you don't have to make it the same. The title of the web story does not even have to match what's the title on your first cover page. But because, and we'll get into this more, there's two different, like I showed you here. Do you see these? These are the covers of my particular, here, I'll just pick one. My particular web stories. So here, this is a good example. Oh, shoot. How do I move this bar around? Oh, I can. Okay. So see here. Oh, let me go back. How I have easy appetizer. Can I move this too? Yes. Easy appetizer, marinated mozzarella. So that is, but the web story, oh my gosh, I have to move this again. Hold on. Pause, go back. The web story name, this is what I want to do. Sorry, that's what I want to do. The web story name, look up here as web story / easy appetizer for a holiday party cheese board. So you can, this all doesn't have to match. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Trying to move this around. I don't know where to put it. There. Okay.
All right. Ready for the next question?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Mara said, you mentioned Lori talking about how often you should do them. Do you have a basic answer for today? I know you might cover this in the workshop.
Oh yeah, no, I'm happy to share. So for me, when I was like really pursuing going all in on web stories, because when they really started taking off for me, like I said, was Q4 of 2021. And I literally was doing 1 to 2 web stories a day, every day. And I was still posting, you know, with new posts, but I was mostly doing a lot of web stories. I just dove in full. Now, I'm not saying that will work anymore because, like I said, the number of web stories, that there's more competition now than there was for web stories. But I hit a sweet spot, I think, certainly. And it just, you know, the trajectory just started taking off. But a lot of us did. There was a lot of that activity happening at the same time. And if you did too, Amy, you know, Katz, I know, was one too. People, you know, have seen that as well.
Okay. All right. Christina wants to know, will you be walking us through how to create one? So beginning to end. You said yes.
100%. Yep.
Yep.
100%.
Yep. Let's see. When uploading images to web stories, how to name the images so I don't have duplicate names as the ones used in my actual blog
Oh,
post.
you don't have to worry about that. That's what's so beautiful is in the plugin, your media library is pulled up right there. The only additional image that will be created is one that Google uses for the cover. And because you have to select a cover image that they use to then populate, like I showed you on, like, for example, on here on the Google app. So sorry, it's taken a minute to, I'm trying to pull it up again to show you guys, because the cover, this here, I don't know if you all can see that, this story and this title of this, what does it say? How to organize kitchen cabinets and drawers story. That is the image that you will upload, for example, to Google, and Google will use that as the cover. But if I click into it, that is not the cover of their story. That is.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And as far as scheduling, Robin wants to know, you can use Hootsuite or any other scheduling tool, right? To schedule the Google web stories.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Know.
No, they're scheduled right in the plugin. So it's just like when you schedule a post in WordPress, you know, and you can schedule your post to be published, you're scheduling it within the WordPress plugin. So no, it's not like Instagram, and it's not considered a form of social media.
Okay. All right. Kathy asked, what will you be going into beyond the basics? I think in the workshop.
So the basics, definitely how to make the stories. And again, we're going to gauge that based off of the attendees level. We'll send out a survey ahead of time to get a feel for everybody's level of expertise. But we will be really spending a lot of time on positioning, targeting, going into a post and picking out the things that make that post unique and how to then craft that into a story. Your own personal audience. So there's a lot of marketing. I mean, well, yes, it's about the nuts and bolts of web stories, but it also is going to give you another way to think about how you create all of your content across all of your platforms, whether it be social media, you know, trying to position to your audience. Okay. Email.
All right. I know we got a lot of questions. How are we doing with time, Lori?
We're at 11:45. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, you're still good. All right.
Yep.
Jen wants to know, does Squarespace support them too?
I don't believe so, but I don't.
I think because you said WordPress. So
well, WordPress is this plugin, but I know, like I said, that there are. I'm going to look real quick if. But for our purposes, we will not be. Our workshop will only be around the WordPress plugin.
Okay. All right. And what size should the images be for web stories?
They pull them in automatically. So if it's on your media library, it makes it work through on web stories. So you don't have to
Right.
resize things unless they're super blurry. Oh, so here we go. Someone said that they think Squarespace might have a service that works with web stories, but something called Unfold, maybe. So I just Googled that. I don't.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. Lynn wants to know, what if your stories aren't showing on this page?
On what page?
What page? Yeah, Lynn. Lynn, if you're still there, can you
on like
clarify
your
that?
web stories page, like on your site? So nothing is showing up, Lynn? We can unmute Lynn, right? So she can ask us.
Yeah, where is she? I don't see. Lynn, are you
Lynn,
still
if you're
here?
there, unmute. Oh, it's an archive.
Hear me?
Hi,
There she
Lynn.
is.
How are
Okay.
you?
Good. How
Hi.
are you?
Good, thank you.
So I typed in my website name .com/web-stories, and it just comes up as archives with no stories in there.
And you have stories published?
I do.
What is your site?
Delmarvelicious Dishes. I'll type it in the chat.
Oh, perfect. Okay, thank you. I've never heard of that before. Wait, I'm going to go to it. Hold on. Oh, I don't know.
Okay, well, I'll do another one to see if it automatically goes there or not.
Yeah, I wonder why. And you're on WordPress, right?
Yes.
I don't have the answer to that.
Okay, it's okay. Thank you for looking,
I'm sorry. Yeah, sure.
All right. Mara asked, what is AMP for checking?
So AMP is AMP, and it is after you publish a story, it's a test. So last October, and I'll put it in the I will put it in the chat here. Last, not this past October, but October of 21, web stories, people were having trouble with them not being indexed. And one of the best practices is to make sure that, you're welcome, Mara, is to make sure that your web story is valid, because a web story is considered an AMP page. And so this way, when you go in and put in there, you'll get a green success check that your web story is valid. That way, you know, Google can index it and it can be seen. There was a problem when I said last October where stories weren't being indexed and you were having to go in and manually request to have them indexed. I'm still doing that to this day. And I recommend you do it just because it's a good way to make sure your story, gets out there, especially in the beginning, when you want to be seen. But people were finding that stories weren't being indexed for 2 weeks. I mean, a long time. And then by the time that they were being indexed, your story was already, Christmas might have passed. And so people were really frustrated with that whole situation. Now, to me, it seems, and speak up if you've had a different experience, mine get indexed within a couple hours. I mean, they really have picked it up. And so I think it's a good sign, since there's so many more of them, that they are able to index them pretty quickly. So.
Perfect. Okay. Jessica wants to know, do you use images only for web stories, not video?
No, you can use video.
Oh.
I don't have a lot of video on my site, so I haven't done that for myself, but I've done it for some of the other bloggers that I've worked with. The tricky thing with video is, especially if you're able to, before you import it in, and we'll show you how to do that in the plugin, if you can bring it in without the audio, because otherwise, if the audio is tied to it, that will play in the background, depending on, like, if you're, for example, filming yourself cooking in the kitchen and you have the TV on in the background, that will be picked up on your web story, is what I'm saying. And they can scrub that out, but then it gets repopulated again, and all of that is stored. Google does a really nice job, though, of you can ask them in the Web Stories plugin to serve up the video from their servers instead of from yours. So it makes it a lot, you don't have to worry about space on your site.
Okay. All right. Tanya wants to know, have you noticed lower or higher RPMs for traffic coming to your site from Web Stories?
After this past Q4, I've noticed lower RPMs in general, but I don't think that all can be attributed to Web Stories. I know that some of the SEOs in our space, Casey and Arson and their team, their Top Hat, webinar team will say that with Web Stories, you will have lower RPMs, and Mediavine also says that it will affect your average because they are the ads that are served through Web Stories per, Google Ads and through Mediavine. They're not paid for as highly. So the companies are not valuing them as much. They're not paying as much for them. So it does throw off your average. And I do what you want there. I reached out to Mediavine because I was asking them, like, gosh, it was in December, and I wanted to talk to them about my RPMs. And they said, well, you have the Web Stories RPMs enabled. We would suggest at this point that you disable them because it really was playing with my RPMs. But again, that I'm not saying that's what you should do. I'm saying that's what they suggested that I do. And so I'm trying it to see what happens.
Okay. All right. Let's see.
Oh, did Amy say she's turned it off too? Yeah, they're not. Yeah, I agree. They don't seem worth it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. How long is the workshop? Did you say it was 2 hours long?
Well, no, it's a whole day. So
it's a whole day. That's right.
It's a whole day. Yeah. It's from 9 until about 3. And we'll have a lunch break built in and a morning break built in.
Yes. Yes. And the cost of the workshop is $199.
Mm-hmm.
And we sign up. It looks like we have only 20 spaces available. So
awesome.
Yes.
Ramona, you're asking a really good question, and I saw it and if there's someone ahead of her, should we use the same keywords for Web Stories as we do for the post, or does it cannibalize our SEO? Okay. So the thing about Web Stories, because we talked about how fleeting, the traffic is, and people do worry, oh, is my web story going to outrank my post? And with as many as I have on my search console, especially, like the keywords that I've started ranking for example, and it's not, for some reason, these peanut butter cookies went off. I am an Italian food blogger, but my peanut butter cookie recipe is the one that went crazy. And all of a sudden I'm ranking for peanut butter cookie recipes on Google Search Console, when typically I would be ranking for crispy, chewy peanut butter cookies, a much longer tail keyword. So I have found that Google Web Stories allow you to rank for a broader keyword. And so with them, I usually target a broader keyword instead of being so specific. Now, that's not to say you wouldn't throw in those other keywords in to your pages, within the story. But it does allow you to rank for a larger keyword.
Okay.
Does that answer your question, I hope?
Okay, and I think we covered all the questions. I'm scrolling here. If we missed it, let me know, but I think we answered everything. Thank you, everyone.
Ramona. Yeah, thank you. It's really fun. And feel free, if anyone has any questions, I can be reached on Instagram at josieandnina.com or at Josie and Nina. That's my handle everywhere on Facebook, and or just, shoot me a DM or email me at Lori at josieandnina.com. And I'm happy to answer any questions and help you out. So
yes, perfect. All right. Let us know if you have any questions. Thank you, everyone, for attending and all the awesome questions. And we hope to see you